Welcome to the Rat Race to 5 podcast, where we discuss money, mindset, real estate investing, and ways to achieve financial independence. Whether you are a rookie or a veteran needing new ideas for investing or creating side hustles, you're in the right place. Here to challenge you to think out of the box, your hosts, Felipe Mejia and Diego Corzo.
Diego, what's up, dude? We have an awesome guest today, Soli. Soli is going to talk about how she grew from 1 to 21 doors. And she's only 23 years old. Blows my mind. She took a job that engulfed herself in real estate, and now she's using the power of social media to further her goals in what she's doing in the real estate world.
Yes. One of my favorite things is how there's a lot of people that say, oh, I'm in an area that I cannot invest in, and I am too young to start investing. But just like you said, she started investing out of state, created her team. Then she fired her team and did not work with her again, but continued to buy homes. So all these obstacles that she hit, it was just obstacles, and then she moved on. So it's a great episode. It's going to empower a lot of people, and I'm excited to continue to learn.
Yeah, absolutely. I want people to stick around to the end because Soli actually asks us a question that stumps us both. So stick around to the end. You're going to love it. But before all that, man, thanks, Diego, for doing this podcast with me. I just want to give you a public thank you. You're awesome, dude. You're a rock star. You're a great business partner. Let's get to Soli. Soli, welcome to the Rat Race to 5 podcast. We are super excited to have you. Thanks for coming on the show. I know you're super busy with everything that you're going on. I follow you personally on social media, and you're just crushing it out there. Diego, what's up, dude? How are you?
What's up, Felipe? Doing well. Excited for this show.
Oh, dude, I'm super stoked. Soli, so for those who have been living under a rock for the last 2 or 3 years and don't follow you on social media, who are you? What do you do? Just give us a 30,000 foot view of your life, and then we'll dig in.
Oh, no. Okay, so it's been 1 year. So you've been living under a rock for 3 years. You might not know me. So my name is Soli. I am 23. I started investing in real estate about a year ago. And I own, 21 doors, and I flip, I buy and hold, and I'm just getting started into wholesaling. So I am located in the Bay Area, California. I do all of my investing remotely in Cincinnati, Ohio. So that's pretty much it. My day job is also in commercial real estate. And so there's a good amount of overlap with working on deals all over the country and investing out of state. So that's me.
So it's not cool to just skip over that your growth was so exponential. Oh, I've just investing for 2 years and I have 17,000 doors. No big deal. So we're going to get into that. But before we get into that, tell us a little bit about before that. What about high school? Who were you in high school? What was that life for you? And then we're going to kind of dig into that. Let's get some fun stories out of you.
All right. I was a nerd in high school. So here's a fun fact. I won first place in the math Olympics.
Diego's ears just perked
seventh
up.
Grade. That was my valedictorian in middle school and high school. I think that's probably the first time. I was a slacker in college. It kind of flipped. But yeah, so I was a smarty pants in high school. I started a nonprofit. I was a hustler. I worked a coffee shop job since I was 14. At the same time, I worked as a residential real estate agent I think I was maybe 17. So I was always reading about personal finance, trying to make more money. I thought it was just a fun game to try to see how much I can stack up in my bank account. So I think it was a good foundation because I was super frugal as a kid. My parents were not super into finances. It's kind of a taboo topic, and that's something that they thought about the most probably. And so I didn't want to be a burden at all on them. And so I took it on myself to get a job, teach myself about personal finance, and set myself up to have a different lifestyle.
Man, that's awesome. So where did you start that journey of learning about finances and like all that? Like give us books, resources. How did you like just kind of start educating?
I liked a boy in high school and he really liked finance. And so I was like, I'll read your finance books and talk to you about finance. And that's how it got started, honestly. I think I read like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and I read all sorts of like the regular books that you read when you're starting out. And I listened to Bigger Pockets podcast. And that's how I got started. I invested in stocks starting at probably like sophomore year of high school. I would just play in my classes, like buying and trading stuff. After a while, I just decided that I didn't understand the stock market. And so that's how I got introduced to real estate.
Interesting. That's really good. So it's funny you say math because Diego's like, he's our numbers guy, right? So he perked up when you said that about high school.
My math Olympic.
Your math Olympic, yes. So you went high school, and then you met a boy, learned about financing. That led to college, or that led to real estate. I'm assuming. The boy, is he still in the picture?
No.
Good for you. Good for you. Now he's probably like, dang it. Now she's rich, man.
Not yet, but maybe soon.
Oh, you will. You'll definitely get there for sure. So, okay, so you finance and then real estate. What attracted you to real estate from finance to real estate? Because we hear a lot of stories of people like Dave Ramsey to real estate, or family struggles to real estate. Why was that there's so many other avenues?
Yeah, so when I started working for residential realtor, I was working in the coffee shop, and there was a realtor who came in every single day, and I just really liked his lifestyle. Like he just seemed like he had a lot of money. Like he was always surfing and coming in whenever he wanted. And I was like, that seems cool. And I can also do it at the same time I'm serving coffee. So I was working double jobs and getting double paid. And so that's how I got into real estate. And then when I got into college, I had no idea what I wanted to do, as most people do when they get into college. And so I joined a real estate association and accidentally got a job sophomore year. And then I just stopped kind of going to classes and I worked full time through college.
Man, that's a lot. Now, where did you say you grew up? Because you said surfing or something.
Yeah, so I grew up in the Bay Area in a really small town called Pacifica, which is on the beach. And it's so close to San Francisco, but I think that people who get stuck in Pacifica it's like more of a small-minded community. Mm-hmm. And we just never left. Like we grew up hiking, surfing, going to campfires, very wholesome childhood, but at the same time, there was never talk of anything more or bigger. And so when I went to college in the Silicon Valley, which is quite the opposite of Pacifica. It's like all of a sudden I was shocked at how much wealth there was everywhere. Like my schooling probably cost 70 grand per year. Wow. For 4 years. And only reason I went is because I got a full ride there. But it was very enlightening to see how other people lived their lives. And a lot of the people there weren't on full rides. They paid full tuition. And it was just a different experience. I think when you surround yourself with a class that, I guess like an economic class that is so much higher, you learn so much. And then after that, I became a commercial real estate broker at 19. So when I was a sophomore in college, that was my job that I worked full time through college. So I did deals, I sold land, I sold buildings, I leased buildings all through college. And that was putting myself in like a class above the class in college because I was surrounded by brokers who were making millions. I would do their vouchers for them and I'd be like, how are you making $1 million? Like, this is just incredible. I didn't even know you could make that much money. Like my mind was like, oh, $100,000, go to school, make 100 grand, like you're set. That's a lot of money. But after working for my boss and seeing like, oh my gosh, you just made 3 million this year. What am I doing? So I think my whole mind and mentality shifted away from small town girl who wants to work in nonprofits for the rest of her life to like, I was just mind blown at what else was out there in the world.
So I like this for two reasons. I'll let you go, Diego. But I like this for two reasons because one, you got into a different environment, so it changed your mind, and then the second one was you put yourself in a room or in a position. So a lot of people are like, oh, I want to start in real estate, but I don't have any money. Well, Soli just told you what you could do. Go work for a company like where you were at and learn from other people. I mean, your boss started making $2 million and that started becoming a reality to you, where before that was more of just a dream, or maybe that'll happen to other people, but I don't deserve that. So for you, putting yourself in that position, now making $1 million, $2 million annually became a reality that was actually attainable because you had seen other people do it, right? Which is really cool. Like putting yourself in the environment can really shift your mindset. Sorry, go ahead, Diego.
What you said, Felipe, I totally agree, because at the end of the day, is like the type of conversations that you participate in, it sort of changes the frequency of what your potential future will look like. And it's really important because now whenever you're thinking about potentially investing or working at deals, you might be thinking, okay, in the future, for me, it might be the norm if I stay on this lane to be able to make those 1 million, 2 million, 3 million a year. So it's really good. Now, in that process, because you were 19, 20 years old, right? Was there any time, because on the commercial side, a lot of people are on the older side because you're dealing more with larger spaces, businesses, all of that stuff. Was there any time that you were like, holy crap, I am too young to be working in this field, or I'm talking to guys that are 50 years old or something, and I'm telling them something that I might be just new at this? Was there any time that you might felt that?
Yeah, I would say the average age in my office of 80 was 65. And so I was the
Wow.
youngest by far. And I was one of maybe 3 women in the office. And so I always tell people that playing on a boys soccer team prepared me for brokerage. Like I learned how to kick ankles on the field. And so, I mean, the good part about, I did a bunch of national accounts. And so we worked all over the country. And the awesome part is that I didn't have to meet people. I just talked on the phone with them, which is kind of similar to investing out of state. Because I think that if people met me in person, they might look at me and make assumptions before they talk to me. And because I can control what I say and how I speak, I think that I gained a lot more confidence that way. I was not concerned about what I looked like, but just like my experience. And so in the beginning, it was really difficult. I mean, the learning curve in commercial real estate is very, very steep. I think that you spend the first year or two kind of completely lost, but so you do it in real estate investing too. And so, I mean, that's where mentors come in, and you just have to be able to say that you were wrong and to own up that you don't know things. And as my boss was really big on no dumb questions, and he was probably 40 years in the industry, and he still asked questions because he's like, the worst thing I can do is not ask. So I think, I don't know. I mean, it's the same in everything. You start in the beginning and you know nothing. And then as you go, you learn and it gets better. But it is definitely a humbling experience, for sure.
So I have one last question, and then we can take it into your first deal and things like that. But Soli, can you give an explanation for those people that are listening? Can you explain a situation or give us a story where somebody did judge you based on, that either, I don't know, you said you were in a room full of men, so that you were a woman or the way you dressed or whatever. Can you give some encouragement to someone out there that might be like, well, I totally get what she's saying, right? Like, because you were in a room full of guys that were older, that had probably been in the game for a long time. I'm assuming you got some judgment.
Like a time that someone said something bad about me that I just had to ignore.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine the conversations that might have been happening.
I think that there was just a lot of snarky comments behind the scenes, more so than to my face. And at that point, you just have to, I mean, I don't even care about them because I never hurt them and I don't want to know. And so my team was 2 young women and a 67-year-old guy. The white guy. And so we used to always say, it's like, if someone doesn't want to talk to me and he wants to talk to you, that's fine. It just happens. Some people don't don't mesh with me. And that's, I mean, I have a partner right now in investing, and he's a young white male, and there are certainly people who dismiss me and want to talk to him. But I think that at this point, I don't take anything personally, and we play to each other's strengths. And there's definitely people who prefer to talk to me because I'm a woman, and I might handle things a little bit more nicely, like especially contractors. Like maybe old owners don't want to talk to me because they don't take me seriously, but
Right.
I certainly have. And that kind of happened. And I'm like, that happened, and we had to kind of re-strategize who takes care of what part of the business, because we were cold calling owners like crazy. And it's like, I don't understand why I keep getting hung up on. Like, I just open my mouth and say hello, and I don't even get to say anything. And his cold calling was a lot more effective than mine. And after a couple of weeks of it, I'm like, dude, look, this is obviously working for you. It's not working for me. How about you handle acquisitions? Owners want to talk to a male, and that's fine with me. I'm okay with that. Like, let's play to your strengths. I'll handle the contractors. I handle all the systems and processes because I'm good at it. And I think at the end of the day, it's like, you can choose to get worked up about it, or you can choose to just play to your strengths and accept it. So had to do it a lot. I mean, it's the same thing with real estate investing as commercial real estate. And it's a sad reality that there's a lot of support for women out there. So
Yeah, and I think that you starting young too, and as a woman, I feel like you're definitely you're definitely an example for other people to be able to say, you know what, I'm gonna play to my strengths, whatever situation happens, but I'm gonna be the best I can be. And in the future, I bet you that as you take more action, you're gonna show them up too, and they might say, holy crap, I should have not treated them that way or judged them that way. But I feel like you're definitely a great example for many people.
thank you.
Yep, I agree 100% with that. I wish there was more openly just crushing it women in real estate, because I've seen and I know for like Ashley that I know, and just so many women in real estate that I think are crushing it, that deserve more of a platform than are given. When I look at some of the bigger platforms in real estate, it's always just like older white men, and I'm like, I mean, that's cool, like, don't get me wrong, but I know girls that are crushing it that need a voice. I know, immigrants that are killing it in real estate. I know people of color that are crushing it. And I just wish there was more of a platform for that. So I love that we have you on the podcast, because I bet there's plenty of young women out there that are like, man, I want to be like her when I grow up. I want to do what she's doing. As well, I say grow up. So how old did you say you were again?
I'm 23.
23. Okay. So, okay, let me take that back. Maybe they're saying I want to just be like Soli regardless of age, because she's out there crushing it. That's hilarious.
I think it's important to see people who look like you in areas of success. I mean,
that's all I've been saying for years. That's all I'm saying.
I would not necessarily put me on the pedestal. Like, I think people forget that, like, I'm 1 year into investing, and like, the doors are awesome and it's an awesome achievement, but like, I am still learning as if I am 1 year in. So that's what I keep telling people. It's like, everyone's asking for coaching and whatnot. It's like, I'm learning right aside you. Like, the reason I have a platform is because I am very honest about what's going on that's bad in my investing. Like, I'm willing to share all the bad things that happen, and I honestly think people find it entertaining. And so, like, that's where I get my platform from. And then everyone's like, oh, that's so much credibility to have a lot of Instagram followers. But I'm like, yeah, I'm learning and growing just like the rest of you.
No, we appreciate that authenticity. I know, especially over at Rat Race Mastermind and everything that we do. We're big on authenticity and being able to be called out, and like, going through the bull crap, and then we move on quickly. So we appreciate you for that. Well, let's move on to your first deal. You went from having just working, and then now you have 21 doors a year later of getting into real estate. Can you kind of give us a 30,000 foot view of how like that growth happened? And then let's dig into the first like couple properties and how you kind of snowballed that, if that's cool with you.
Yeah. So the reason I got into real estate investing in the first place is because I work in commercial real estate, and the pandemic came about and the world shut down, especially with people looking for office space, which is what I specialize in. And so I had time to kind of refocus on my priorities on like, if we're going to ever try to reach financial freedom and set up passive income streams and get started in real estate investing, like now is the time. And so it was March of last year where I decided that I was just going to give it a shot, really not knowing much of anything. Didn't expect to get something under contract so fast because the world was saying like it's impossible to get a deal. The market's so hot. And so I was like, I'll just throw in offers and see what happens. And I bought my first one probably 2 months later, 3 months later, and I was still an intern in college. And so the financing was a little bit iffy. And so that was my first one. It was a single family. I bought it sight unseen off of Zillow. Really did not have any idea what I was doing, but it was a near perfect burr by the time I was done with that. So real fast after that, I bought a triplex, half with my money, half with private money. The next one was a flip with hard money. After that was a flip with hard money. After that was a 5-unit, a 10-unit, and then a flip with cash. So that's kind of the progression.
And all of that in 1 year.
About a year. Yep.
About a year. Yeah. And really quick too, what's cool about that is that you're in California, you're in like the Bay Area, which is one of the hottest areas in the United States. And a lot of people have that excuse of like, oh, I cannot invest in real estate because I'm in a hot area. But you actually started investing out of state for all of your properties. And it's something that a lot of people might have think, oh, it's too hard, or I can do it, or I'm too young. But you were like, YOLO, like let's just do it, right? So I
might as well lose $20,000 today than when I'm 60. I think that's what Felipe said on his. So I'm going to repeat that.
Yep, exactly. If I'm going to lose 20 grand, I'd rather do it now than when I'm 60. Soli, I'm interested in so you got into hard money and private money and like all this jazz. A lot of people are scared to borrow off their credit card. Go into a little more of the mindset behind like, yeah, I'm going to use hard money to flip this property, half of mine and half of this person's. Like, dude, that takes guts. Is it because the environment you came from, or like you educated yourself enough? I mean, give us that mindset.
That's funny because I actually used a credit card for my first renovation. All 15 grand of it was put on a credit card, and it killed my credit score a ton. But it's back. My credit score is back, and I bird that one. So honestly, like I think that I had a friend who is now who I invest with kind of walk me through just scenarios. And so I think everyone kind of needs that person when you're freaking out on your first deal to say like, what do I do? Like, is this okay? And he was the person who said, yeah, like go for it. And he had already bought, I don't even know, like 8 or 9 or 10 houses by the time he was like 24. And so to me, I was like, that's just what people do. I didn't know any differently. And so when a deal came up and I analyzed it and I was like, this was the triplex that I bought as my second property. I'm like, yeah, I think this makes sense to me. And then I sent it to him and I'm like, does this make sense to you? And I think the mindset reframe was not like, I can't do this. I just never thought about that. Like I was moving too fast to ever say like, I can't do this. It was always a question of how can I do this? How can I do it? And that was every single deal that came through. I think maybe I got lucky to start out on the right foot, that I had someone who forced me to problem solve instead of let me like make myself a victim. So I think that is oftentimes the problem with people is they always blame external circumstances or this or that. I think I was surrounded by a community who refused to let me do that. And that's how I came up with private money and hard money and all those sorts of things. I think Instagram was a big part of that too. I kind of just thought it was really fun to keep buying properties. Like it's really fun to announce on Instagram that you find a new one. And so I don't know. I mean, it was just so normalized in my mind that I'm like, this is what people do. I have thousands of people following me and I follow thousands of people and everyone's just buying properties all day. And everyone's a problem solver and everyone's going through struggles. And so because it was probably the pandemic and I didn't hang out with anyone besides my Instagram friends, basically, that became my world. And like, that is all I saw. So I think it really normalized taking risk.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. I heard a couple things on there I think was really important. And one of the things that I think doesn't get enough attention was you said that like you didn't. I'm gonna paraphrase here, but basically you said you didn't know it. You didn't know any better. You were like, I just thought this is the way you did it, and I was the same way. Like when I went to college, like I know this is gonna sound crazy, but like when I got my sheet to fill out my classes, it had like 6 spots. So I just kind of filled them all out with classes for that semester because no one told me I could take less than 18 hours. So no joke, I took 18 hours every semester until I graduated. I graduated college in 3 years because no one told me that you can take 6 hours or 8 hours or like you could take 3 classes and you were full time. And I was like, wait, what? This is insane. Like I took 18 hours every semester, and this is going to make me sound really dumb. I even took college classes during the summertime because like I just thought that was normal. So I don't know. It was like I just didn't know what I didn't know. And now I'm like, well, I got a leg up, right? And I paid less for college. But I think it's really important because a lot of people will like, I almost want to put a term to it, but like almost over-educate themselves to where they know too much for their own good, where they're like, oh man, this bird could go wrong and I'm going to leave $10,000 in the deal. Like, dude, that's okay. Like you just almost completed a perfect burr if you just left 10 grand in a deal. Like there's nothing wrong with that. Oh, but this person got all their money back. Yeah, but they're probably not being honest. And even if they did get all their money back, like they're probably have no cash flow. So I love that you said that part. And then the other part, you talked about your social media and how important that was. I think a lot of people think that like, I think there's 2 users on social media. There's the people that are intaking and they're just like watching and like scrolling or whatever. And then there's people like us who are like actively using social media to like further their business, right? Yes, we get some content out of it, but it's not like our main focus is like growth and scale and like helping others as well. So we use it a little differently than most people. Diego, what is the comment that Alex said at the Rat Race to Fire retreat in Gulf Shores?
He said digital reputation of digitization or something along those lines. But it was about the power of understanding the social media real estate and understanding that right now that is something very, very, very important. But it was digitization of reputation or something like that.
Yeah, it's like digitalizing your reputation. I can't remember exactly what it was.
Yeah.
But even Ryan Pineda talks a lot about that. He's like, yeah, real estate's amazing, but like the next 10, 15 years are really going to be impacted by your social media and like your presence, right? And it's really important to take that. So I think it's awesome that that's kind of like how you built your real estate. It also like confirms who you are. Maybe confirm is not the word, but it really like lets people, it's almost like an open book to your life, right? And it's like, this is what I do full time. So I think that's awesome, Soli. So you did all these things. Let's get down under the microscope if that's okay with you. Can we get into that first property? How'd you find it? How did you fund it? Like, how did it go? I'm sure it was perfect. You made $1 million and nothing happened wrong. Is that about right? Because that's what happens with every deal.
Something like that. Yeah, it sounds about right. If you can't find a perfect deal, don't buy it, right? We're waiting a long, long time. So yeah, so I found it on Zillow. It had just fallen out of contract. So I was just kind of poking around, saw that it came back on. I had a realtor who I talked to probably once who didn't know anything about me, probably thought I was just wasting her time, but I reached out and I was like, hey, can we put an offer on this? Wasn't pre-approved by a bank. Again, I was an intern at a company, like was probably not going to get approved. And so it was $98,000. I had a couple contractors go through and I was like, I don't even know how to look at these bids. Like they could be telling me anything and I would have no idea if it's right or wrong. And like, that's when I like showed my friend, like, does this look about right? But again, I'd never seen it. So I literally had looked at pictures, on Zillow, but I decided like this was it. I was gonna buy it. So I went through the whole financing thing. There was like always fiascos with like you're not qualified, blah blah blah, and it took a long time. But it went through eventually with a lot of like freak out days, as everybody has. And then I flew out there. My mom was there for a week, and then I spent a month over there with my drill that I learned how to use that day. And I was drilling cabinets and painting and sleeping on a floor, and it was terrible. It was really awful. But I learned a lot, and I learned that I don't like to DIY stuff. And so after that, I was like, I totally value the work that I pay my contractors for. So I'm going to treat my contractors well, because I don't want to do this myself. And so that was sort of the shtick. My general contractor was also my property manager. There was a big drama with that, and I had to fire them both. And it's just so happened that I couldn't close on my second property until my first property was rented out. And so I had to just rent it out myself. So I called a friend, put it all over Facebook Marketplace, called a friend over there and was like, hey, can you please show my house for me? Like, I need this rented. And so I rented it out. I still self-manage that one to this day. Super easy to self-manage from 2,000 miles away. I refinanced it 6 months later. I can't remember exactly how much I left in the deal, but it was probably like, it was less than $10,000. It was maybe like $7,000, and it cash flows $530 a month, something like that. So pretty fantastic cash on cash return. I think it's like 80% cash on cash return. And I reused that money and put it inside a flip. So that was my first deal. I ended up firing everybody on my team, contractor, property manager, realtor, and my lender, because it was just everyone was a mess and disorganized. And I built a whole new team for property number 2. So I just like to tell people that even if everything goes wrong on the first one, that it's not a reason to quit. It's just a reason to learn. And it's cheaper than paying for a college education. So even if you lose money, you take it to the next one. It's never about the first one.
Yeah, that is very true. Now, how did you finance that property again? Did you put
conventional? As a 20% down, life savings into the down payment, risk it for the biscuit, and then I financed the renovation money with a credit card, a 0% APR.
Man, okay.
So real quick, Soli, you have this like amazing like God glare. It's like,
is that better?
There you go. There's going to be some people watching it. They're going to send me a message. No, love it. No worries. Go ahead, Diego. Sorry, bro.
Oh, no. Oh, good. Oh, good. No, what I was going to say is like, it's just like, wow. Cause like you go out of state, you've never renovated a property, and now you're doing this, you're living in the property. You go through the process, you fire your whole team. Like some people will have said, I'm done. Like this failed. I know I got some money back, but I don't want to go through the hassle of finding contractors again and dealing with a lender, a new lender, all of that stuff. Like there were just a lot of things that may have happened that a lot of other investors would have said, you know what, I'm one and done, and that's it. So yeah, it's really cool. Really cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think honestly, Instagram was a big part of it, because I think all investors share in the same. Like at some point, you just laugh. You're just like, this is just so ridiculous that I'm just going to share it, and we can all laugh together. Like the one I just shared on my Instagram today was like my stager fell through the floor, and it's like, how ridiculous is that? You know. And at some point, it's like you can't do anything but laugh. But for me, the headaches are worth it, because this is directly correlated to my success and my financial independence, where there's a lot of headaches in my day job, and they're directly correlated to my boss's success, you know, and like the company founder's dream. And so at least in this case, I feel like what is there in the future for me is totally worth it, and I'm so willing to laugh at myself with all my friends and investors as we all experience the pain of investing together.
Yeah.
Don't worry, Soli. We're all laughing at you. I mean, with you. You know.
You can laugh at me too.
No, we're just kidding. We're just, of course, we're not. Really quick. So you said that you are so you're investing out of state, and you're a new investor. So let me just tell you, you went against all the rules. Okay, you invested out of state. You're a new investor. You're young. You're a woman. Like according to like all the norms out there that are so wrong, you just went the complete opposite, and you just didn't care what anybody thought. I think that's awesome. But can you tell us about what it was like to to invest in a property out of state and then manage it yourself? Because a lot of people are like, oh, I can't invest out of state because I don't have a manager, right? Everyone in the books that people sell, it's like, you got to have your team. Don't start without your team, right? So like you not only invested out of state, but you crushed it. And now you're like self-managing. Can you explain what processes and procedures you had to put in place? And then let's add some value. What are some tips and tricks that you've learned along the way, as well as what apps or what do you use to self-manage? Like, let's get into the good stuff.
Yeah. So, I mean, building a team is a process. You can't just pick one. You can't pick 4 people, your core 4 people, and like, you're it. That's awesome. This is the dream team. And it's more like a puzzle piecing thing where you try people out, and until you actually go through a transaction with a contractor or an agent, you can't really tell how good they are. And so,
right.
I mean, I'm still in the process of finding like the dream team. So I do not self-manage all of my properties. I was self-managing my first 2. The rest of my portfolio has been transitioned into a property manager, but that one in particular, I still self-manage because I never hear from her, and she's already set up on my rental, on my dashboard. But that being said, when it does turn over, I'll turn it over to a property manager because I don't find that as the most efficient use of my time. And I don't find that as scalable for my business, which is my biggest concern. So on like self-managing, I use Avail, and I think a lot of people like Avail. It's easy to do screenings. They pay rent online. There's state specific leases. There's a great education platform. I know a lot of people who manage a lot of properties on there by themselves, but I do think that sometimes it is a hindrance for scaling because people don't have enough bandwidth. And so you just have to ask yourself, like, is my time worth more than this task? Can I outsource it? Am I building myself into a job, or do I want to build myself out of a job? And so my goal is to build myself out of a job. And so I am working on hiring and delegating, eliminating, all that sort of stuff.
So I like what you said there. You said, is my time worth more than this task? Right? That's super crucial, because when I first started, I wanted to be Superman. And I think this is where like men kind of have a downfall. We kind of want to do it all, and it always puts us back. Whereas like our counterparts, like girls are just like, no, I could just hire this out. Like, babe, this person, like, and I said, babe, because my wife would be like, the plumber is probably better than you at changing the toilet. I'm like, no, I could change the toilet. I swear, like $200, like I could save that. And then I break the toilet, or, oh my gosh, this is a really funny story. So I told the plumber that I needed a toilet changed. So I was like, but I'm going to go buy the toilet. I'm going to bring the toilet. I'm going to put the toilet there so I don't have to pay for that extra $100, right? I'm going to save myself $100. This is so bad. It's so embarrassing. So I brought the toilet. I put it where I was going to, I put it in the house, and then I left. And then the plumber calls me back, bills me, and he's like, hey, the toilet's done. Great. Pay the toilet. And then the tenant calls me and says, hey, my toilet is still leaking. And I'm like, I just paid for the toilet. So I went to the house, and he had put the toilet upstairs. And guess where I needed it? Downstairs. And I was like, oh my gosh. Now I have to go buy another toilet, pay this plumber. And I was like, hey dude, can you I'm just going to step away. And that happens to us. Like, we're like, oh, we're all macho. Like, we could do this. And not only did it cost me $100, but it cost me like another half a day, which is like really stressful. So like, I love what you just said, right? It's like, is my time like worth this, or should I just hire it out? And I think a lot of times people are like, maybe you don't have the money or whatever the case may be, but get there as quick as possible, because your time is more valuable. Doing other things, networking, doing things on social media to network, and putting yourself in different rooms. So I love that you said that, and it's so true. And it's a clear example of like, just if you have the availability, hire it out. Don't try to pinch every penny. It's gonna go so much farther if you just hire it out.
Yeah, that's the one thing about out of state investing that I actually like, because it forces you to run a business. Like, if the toilet goes out, I'm not able to go over there and check out what's wrong. It's like, just can't do it. Sorry. But I think a lot of people get kind of stuck in the DIY mode, and they have a hard time delegating because they're so used to having so much control over the situation. And so I think that's the one leg up on out-of-state investors. Like quality control can be a little bit hard, but you are forced to put systems and processes and rely on other people and just be okay with giving up a level of control. But that really gives you your time freedom. Like you are truly building a business that operates without you.
Yeah.
100%.
And for anybody too that's asking, hey, how do I start that process, or how do I get that mindset? One of the books that actually helped me a lot was the E-Myth, the entrepreneurial myth. Really great book to understand the process of putting the systems in place and the rewards of what happens when you do that. So really good book, highly recommended.
I love that. Soli, so you can you give us some tips and tricks on managing out of state that some people might be able to use?
I would not call myself a manager just because I manage one. I would say get yourself a property manager so that you can free your time up to do higher value tasks. I would really suggest that, honestly.
Great. I love that. All of my out of state properties are under management. I just wouldn't know what to do if I was to manage it myself. I know how to manage in state, and I've just got some systems and processes for that. Out
what
of state,
do you think?
absolutely not.
What are your best tips for the audience on self-management?
Oh my gosh, don't do what I do. I can show people, like I can help people do stuff, but I still run my deals on the back of notepads. Okay. Like you got to understand, like people are like, Felipe, what's your cash on cash? I'm like, I don't know, but I make $700 in cash flow a month, and that's all that matters to me. But I can give some tips and tricks. I definitely can. So Asana is a free software that's really easy to use, and you can really self-manage on there, or you can at least like kind of organize yourself. There's a lot of softwares out there that people like swear by, like property management, for like to make sure you have the right contracts and like all this stuff. But personally, I just paid a lawyer for to get me a contract that's up to date with the Tennessee code, and then it's up. I can update him whenever I want based on that one fee. Now I only have one house that I actually use that with, but other than that, I literally just use Asana and like spreadsheets, and my spreadsheets are shared with my business partners, and they can kind of see the transparency, and it's linked with the bank account. Everything else is kind of just rocking and rolling smooth since I've started. I don't use any fancy website or some of these other things that people are using.
I do use Asana for project management and for team management, just so everyone is assigned their things, and I can micromanage without micromanaging. I can go on at any time and see exactly what they're doing and what projects are off time or falling behind or that type of thing. So, yeah, that's those are my tips. Your tips.
Our tips. I love it. That's hilarious. Okay, Soli, so we're gonna move on a little bit. So what's next for you? What are you doing next? What are the end of this year's goals, next year goals? I mean, what's in the future for the famous Instagram Soli?
So, I mean, there's multiple business lines. I think that my brain is born to build businesses, and that's kind of why. Like right now, I'm reading. I think Diego, you might be reading this too. Exit Rich. Are you reading that?
That's gonna be so I'm reading Traction right now.
Okay.
And after that, I'm probably going to read that one.
Okay. So, I mean, it's a book all about how to build yourself out of your job. And so that's, I mean, for this year, I can tell you some of my goals. And so I just started wholesaling with wholesaling partners. And so our goal for the rest of the year is to close 10 wholesale deals. I have a glare again. Oh, whew, worse. Sorry, guys.
Oh,
it's gonna be glary. I really want to buy another, hopefully 20-ish unit building, because I'm trying to stack up to qualify for bigger and bigger properties. And so the goal would be to hit 50 units by the end of next year. And then on flipping, the goal is to ramp up a flip company so that we do one flip per month every single month. And that will lead to grossing $1 million next year.
Wow.
So that's the goal for the business, to gross $1 million. And then the goal for this year is to gross 500,000, which I think we'll comfortably hit, in like just with a combination of rentals, flips, what we should wholesale this year, as well as Instagram and that sort of thing. So those are the goals. I mean, they're lofty goals. I think I'm never short on goals, and I always have them. They're always big. I'm determined to run my real estate like a real business and to hire out everyone I need to so that my business runs smoothly without me. I run operations in the company. And so my job specifically within the company is to make sure that everything that can be automated is automated and everything else is delegated to somebody else. And so we're hiring another property manager. We hired a project manager. We're hiring a bookkeeper. And so I've kind of paused on acquisitions at the moment. The company has paused for, sounds so official. The company has paused for a month, about 2 months, in order to make sure that we are poised for scaling. Because a lot of things, you have to have a strong foundation before you just rocket ship up. And like, to me, I guess we kind of rocket shipped up and we saw the cracks. And so we stopped to fix them, to strengthen them, and to put everything in place so that we can just actually rocket ship up. And so that's kind of on the docket. Probably get a coach, get a real estate coach, because I think that putting yourself in a sphere of someone way higher than you is really what puts you in the next level. So they're going to be thinking about things that you've never even thought about before. So that's it. I'm excited. I mean, I'm really excited to gross $1 million. So check in with me next year, see if that happens.
We'll have to have a follow-up podcast for Soli. It'll be exciting.
For real. Have you said a timeline, or do you know for yourself, what is a gross that you need for your company or take home so that you can quit your job? If you even want to quit your job, because you may have systemized your job in a way that you may not need to work that many hours.
Yeah, that's tough. I mean, the thing is like, it doesn't take that many hours anymore because a lot of things have been so delegated. So I was just talking about this with my partner, and we're like, we could quit our jobs, but like, what will we do all day? Like, we don't know. I mean, we maybe build a different business. I think that I would quit my job when I no longer feel like I'm learning or feeling fulfilled by it. And it's not so much a monetary thing.
Cool.
You know, it's funny, Soli. I was able to quit my job. Like I had to get mentally right. My wife had told me a couple times, hey, like, you're ready. We're fine. Like, you can quit. Like, you can focus on real estate now. And I was growing slowly, but it wasn't until I quit my job that I'd like just really hit the ground running and shot to the moon. When I quit my job, I was self-employed. It's still a job, but I owned a moving company. And it wasn't until my wife told me like, hey, you can quit, we're good, did my real estate really explode, because you don't realize like how much brain power you're using towards that. And I was like, you're right. Once I quit, like, it just went through the roof. I was able to buy so much more real estate, but it's only because like my mind had been cleared of like everything else that I was doing that wasn't bringing enough or bringing the revenue and like real estate does. So for me, it was a mindset shift. Like I had to just get into that availability to do so.
That's a really common thought though. Like I asked on my Instagram the other day, what for people who are full-time in real estate, when did you know it was time to quit? Because I've been thinking about that a lot lately, because I could if I wanted to, but I'm just not sure when the time is. And a lot of people said when I knew that I could make more money by leaving, or me working my full-time job was taking away from my business. And so it is a balance of like, when is that time? It could be now, it could be 6 months from now, but I definitely have to do some soul searching on that myself.
Yeah, especially because there are times that I tell people, like, there are some people that are like, Diego, I just quit my job. Now I want to start investing. And now you take out the whole conventional way, right? Of course, that you can go seller financing, owner financing, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
But like, I'm a big believer that before you even quit your job, one of the things that you must do is get into as much good debt as possible. because that way you can maximize. Because if you're making 150 or 200,000 or 400,000 in your job and then you quit, now that power, that a loan that a bank could give you is gone. And now you have to wait 2 years if you want to go the conventional way. So for the audience here, make sure that you take that into consideration before you quit your job.
I think a business plan is also really important. So we're in the process of building out a very complex business plan before it can get simplified. And so it's like 80 pages of just questions. And it's funny how that works. It's like when you're staring at a blank page and how do I write a business plan? It's just hundreds of questions of how do I do this? How do I do that? How many months of reserves do I need in my account to feel comfortable? How many contractors do I need if I'm going to work on 6 projects at once? What does that mean? All that sort of thing. And so I think until I'm comfortable with the business plan personally, I wouldn't quit my job, because I feel like I'd be a little bit like, I don't know where I'm going. Mm-hmm. But if I was confident in the way I was going, then I think it would be totally worth it to bet on myself.
Yeah. I think the future is going to be awesome for Soli. I think you got a lot coming towards you. You have a really good personality. I think you're like you said, you run the operations in your business. I can't imagine what it's going to look like when you're full-time real estate. You're just going to go, pew, there she goes, pew, killing it. Well, Soli, is there anything, before we wrap up, is there anything that you wish we would have asked you? Is there anything else you want to put out for the community that's going to be listening? We got about 1,000 people downloading this thing. So say hi, but
look
say,
at you guys. That's amazing. You guys are so popular.
No, Diego.
Okay, this is my question. How can I be like you when I grow up?
Oh, now you just put us on the spot. Diego's going to get red. How can you be like us? Diego, I'm going to let you go first. Lateral.
How can you be like us? Keep on surrounding yourself with amazing people. That's one of the things.
All right. That was a cop out. Dang it. Okay. I got to do better than that.
This is when the interviewers get interviewed.
Now we're nervous.
Turning the tables. I know. This is good.
So I think it's 2 things for me. Quickly accept when you're wrong and fix the mistake. And then never stop learning. Like, never stop learning. Just read, educate, get around people that are better than you. Get comfortable being uncomfortable. And people are like, hey, well, what does that mean? Well, it means put yourself in rooms where people are wealthier than you. And I don't just mean money. I mean successful in marriage, successful in business, successful financially, successfully healthy. Like, just always be in uncomfortable situations where you're not the alpha player in that room. And I think that's going to put you and get you to getting to a very, very far in life.
I like that. That was a good answer. I think, Diego, you might have to go again.
Yeah.
That one might have beat you.
I feel like, so at the end of the day, no matter what happens, right? Because we all face obstacles, but it is the mindset that we have when those obstacles happen. Like, I always ask myself, am I going to be the victim, or am I going to take it from the empowered mentality? Can this obstacle help me learn something? And how can I use it to move forward? If you have the right mindset, you're unstoppable.
I agree.
Yeah.
Those are good.
Yeah. Really good.
I'm going to implement that, and I'm going to look just like you when I grow up.
Well, hopefully you don't look like Diego when you grow up, because I don't know that that's going to. Soli, thank you so much for being on the Rat Race to 5 podcast. Seriously, we appreciate your time.
Thanks
Keep
for
crushing it
having
in
me.
everything that you're doing. I think I know that you're going to do really, really well. So thank you for your time.
Yes.
Thank you.
Where can people learn more about you? What is your famous Instagram handle? Like, do you have a website? How can people get in touch?
Yeah, so my Instagram is probably the best way. So it's at lattes.and.lisas. And that comes from my coffee shop days. I never thought that it would have any more than 2 followers, my mom and my dad, but it somehow got a little bit bigger. So that's where you can find me, or you can email me at lattes.and.lisas@gmail.com.
I love it. That's
cool.
awesome.
Well, thank you very much, Soli. Really appreciate your time.
Thanks, Soli.
Thank you.
The Rat Race to 5 podcast, where we discuss money, mindset, real estate investing, and ways to achieve financial independence. Whether you are a rookie or a veteran needing new ideas for investing or creating side hustles, you're in the right place.